All right, we are live with another episode of Talking Preps. I've got most of the crew here with us. Alex couldn't be here today, so Randall, you and Gary got to deal with me and Coach versus Coach. So I'm sorry, but so we don't have the contrarian today, and we don't have any. I don't have his big words. I don't have his vocabulary. We'll definitely try. But we do have Senali Moss and Coach Cristie MItchell of South Meck in the back, so we can get right to it on the backside of this. All right, guys, we got South Meck royalty in the building with Coach Cristie MItchell, former co-host of Talking Prep. She kicked me to the curb this year. How you doing, Coach?
Pretty good. How about y'all?
All right. Well, before we get to Senali, I want you to tell us a little bit about the team. You guys are rolling right now.
We're having a really special season this year. We're 15-2, which is the best start of a South Meck team since the 2005-2006 championship team. Definitely the best start of my career, being 15-2. We got a special group of kids. What's really neat about us is that Senali, Katie, and Reese have been playing together since middle school, and they know each other. They know their game like the back of their hands. And, a lot of games I just sit and watch. I don't even have to coach very hard this season so far.
Senali, what's that like for you as a player, having teammates you know so well?
It's fun because we've been together for so long, but we do know each other's strength and weaknesses. So it's an advantage when we play.
What is the difference between this year's South Meck team and the previous couple you played on?
The only thing I can think of is that we're pretty small. That's all.
Yeah, and you're off to a really good season. You're getting like 6.5 steals a game. How do you do that? Is it all timing? People just scared of you? How are you doing that?
They just pass the ball to me.
Senali has the best court vision I've ever seen. She has great court vision and great hands. And if she can get her fingernail to touch the ball, it ends up in her hand.
Because she's getting a lot of games like 10 steals. How does that happen, Senali? How do you get 10 steals in a game?
I don't know. I just predict where they're going to pass it, or they just fumble the ball and I take it.
It's 19 points, 6.5 steals, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. Gary, isn't that the type of player you'd like to have on your team?
Definitely. Definitely. Versatility. One aspect of a game or a player like that is they make everybody around them better.
Yeah. Well, Cristie, you guys have a big week this week. You got Ardrey and Olympic, I believe, both on the road. What do you guys have to do to get through those games and not look ahead to that big rematch with Myers Park that, the coach decided conference championship?
Olympic and Ardrey, neither one were easy games for us. It was a pretty tough game. They've got some good players, some good athletes, and we just have to. One of the mottos that we have this year is our fingerprint. We got T-shirts with fingerprint on the back of it, and every game that we play, we have to play by our fingerprint. We can't change what we do based on our opponent. We can't play like our opponent. We need to play like us. Mm-hmm. And the South Meck way is the way we're going to win. And as long as we continue doing that, then we're going to continue winning games.
Have things settled down for you guys as coaches after kind of last year with the topsy-turvy COVID year? I know we're kind of in a quasi-COVID year this year, but things back to normal a little bit?
I don't think it's back to normal. We're still wearing masks, which is tough on the kids. It's tough on the coaches to be able to scream out there and the kids understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So the mask thing is definitely still not fun, but we'll do what we need to do to continue playing. And, we've had, just on my team alone, we've had a couple players that got sick and, had to quarantine. And so, we probably, 5 or 6 games, we didn't have a full roster. So, until this gets under control, we're just happy that we've played 17 games so far. And we're looking at, still playing a normal conference tournament and a normal state playoff. So we're excited about that.
And Senali, what's that like for you guys as players having to, go through COVID and play in mask? I try to walk outside in a mask, just for my walk, and it's hard,
I mean, it's hard, even if you are conditioned like really well. I'd say it's definitely like it's not something that you get used to. It's kind of just like there in your face, and you're sucking in your own sweat. It's kind of
because I know it's by halftime, everybody's masking kind of under the chin. You know, I almost kind of feel like, you know, what's the point? I think we shouldn't wear. Personally, I don't think we should wear masks while we're playing. Maybe on the bench, but I don't know. But how happy are you just to be playing though after last year?
really happy.
Yeah. Well, what do you do for fun, Senali? What do you do for your hobbies and, you know, when you're just kind of messing around?
Sleep or hang out with friends.
All right. Well, I got one task I need you to do. We're going to ask you.
It's not going to happen. Congratulations. I do want to tell you congratulations on getting your 1,000 points. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Especially with everything that you had to go through. That's a very big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, congratulations there, but you don't stand a chance right now though. Sorry.
Okay. So we're about to ask you some multiple choice questions. Yeah, and let Gary ask the whole question. You'll see the questions on the screen, and then you and Randall are going to go at it in our little thing we call the game show when we get on the backside of this.
I'm Randall Clark. I am not Sam Griner. You will not beat me on the game show.
All right, Senali, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Senali, I'm undefeated in this just in case. He's trying to undermine me this week. He's trying to make it seem like this isn't a big deal, but he really wants you to win. But I'm undefeated, so I just want to let you know, no pressure though.
I absolutely want you to win, Senali. Let's go, Gary.
All right, here we go, Senali. First question. For the week of January 17th, the top 5 most watched shows on network TV were NFL-related broadcasts. Which game had the highest rating? A, Buffalo at Kansas City. B, San Francisco at Green Bay. C, on Fox, NFC pregame show. Or D, Arizona at the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay, Senali, what you got?
I'll just go with C.
C, Fox NFL pregame show. Interesting answer. Randall, what you got?
I'm gonna go with B because Buffalo and Kansas City was last week, and the week before were San Fran and Green Bay. No, they were both last week. Hold on.
Last week.
I'm gonna go D then, because Arizona and LA must have been 2 weeks ago in that case.
No, they were all the week of the 17th. Read the question. The answer is A, Buffalo and Kansas City. So we're all still tied.
It says week of January 17th. It didn't say week 17.
Week of January 17th.
That was 2 weeks ago, not last week.
It's the whole week of. Not a trick
question. My God.
Not a trick question. Not a trick question.
It was a trick question.
No, it was not a trick question. All right, Chelsea, here we go.
This popular singer has a new documentary on Lifetime and a highly anticipated new record coming out. Who is she? A, Rihanna. B, Beyonce. C, Janet Jackson. Or D, Britney Spears.
Randall.
I'm guessing that you came up with this question, and knowing you, I'm going to go with C, Janet Jackson.
All right, Senali, what you got?
I'll go with C.
That is the correct answer. Randall knows me, though. I shouldn't have put that question. My favorite musicians of all time are like Janet, Michael, Luther, and Prince. I only got one left. So. Let's see. I shouldn't have put that in there. I forgot Randall knows me.
You watched the special this weekend, didn't you?
I haven't watched it yet. Me and my wife are going to watch it today, I think.
You're not missing anything.
All right, Gary, go ahead.
All right. Charlotte Hornet LaMelo Ball is trending as an all-NBA player. What nickname did his dad give him as a kid? A, Superstar. B, The Future. C, The Entertainer. D, Curly.
All right, Senali, you're on deck.
I'll go with B.
B, The Future. Randall.
He's the youngest of the Ball brothers, so I'm also going with B, The Future.
The answer is C, The Entertainer. See, I'm fooling Randall, but I'm also getting Senali. That's the thing. I know Senali to get some of these right. Senali, now you got to get this one right. You got to get this one right. Let's go, Chelsea.
Name the Disney movie that has that features a little girl having 5 distinct emotions: sadness, joy, disgust, fear, anger? A. Moana, B. Nanny, C. Pocahontas, or D. Inside Out?
Randall.
I'm gonna go with A. Moana.
A. Moana. What you got, Senali?
I'll go D.
D. Inside Out. Randall, you in trouble, my friend. She's coming through for me. She got the steal. She gets 6.5 steals. She just got one. There you go, Senali. And we have one question, and all Randall can do is tie. I love this. Let me find it. I love this. Hold on.
You see how hard you got to try to find these questions in order to get me to lose?
No, it's not. It's not. Go ahead, Gary.
Who is the leading women's college basketball scorer from a North Carolina school? A. Octavia Jet Wilson of Charlotte. B. Jewel Spear of Wake Forest. C. Nadir Evans of UNC Asheville. Or D. Jessica Williams of Gardner-Webb.
Close them out, Senali.
I think it's C.
C. Nadir Evans, UNC Asheville. What you got, Randall?
I got to go with A just in order to get the tie.
Oh, my God. How'd you know that? How did you know that?
I was going to go with C, to be honest with you, but when she took C, I knew I couldn't take that one, so I had to wing it.
Oh, my God. He came back and tied and stayed undefeated. Octavia Jet Wilson averages 19.9 points a game, which is number 25 in the nation. She's the number 1 scorer in North Carolina. Coach Mitchell, did you know the answer to any of those questions?
Nope, I sure didn't. I was lost. Sure. Randall should have got the Disney one, though. He has.
I know with the kids, yeah.
Nah, my kids watch Moana all the time, so that's why I went with that one, because I figured if it was anything other than that and I got it wrong, I wouldn't be able to go back home.
All good. Well, Coach Mitchell, thanks for coming on. Senali, thanks for coming on. Good luck this season. You're having a great year. Hopefully they'll get you in the men's basketball watch list here sooner or later. That's on Alex and Randall, but if it was up to me, you'd be in there. You see Randall smiling down there? All right, look, you guys have a good day. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
There's Senali and Coach Mitchell. Coach Mitchell was on with us for several years as a co-host. So we used to do this thing called One's Got to Go. We used to have a lot of fun with that. All right, we got Rick Lewis back on the screen. Rick, what is the big news in boys high school basketball of the week?
The big news for basketball this week is we're getting into the meat of the conference schedule, which is really exciting. We've had some great games last week, but now you're going to see games where, everybody's playing for seeding and everybody's playing for the conference championship as far as for the regular season.
Yeah, it's the time of year when people start paying attention. It's kind of like college basketball, that last week of the regular season, the conference tournament, everybody starts paying attention. All right, it's time to hit the rundown. Let me see who's up. Gary, if Tom Brady does retire, and it looks like he is, and Sean Payton has stepped down as coach of the Saints, can the Panthers step up in the NFC South?
I don't think it makes a difference. I think it's about the Jimmys and the Joes and not the X's and the O's. And the Panthers need to worry about drafting some offensive linemen and a middle linebacker. Sean Payton doesn't block and tackle. Tom Brady doesn't block and tackle. And that's what the Panthers need to learn how to do, is block and tackle. So I think it makes no difference. It's the Panthers draft that is going to determine what type of season they have next year.
Brandon, do you agree with that?
I do. I think, in football, especially in the NFL, it's got to start in the trenches. So I think that the offensive line and defensive line are the two most important position sets that you have to address as you build your football team out. So for the Panthers, I think obviously the offensive line is going to be very critical in drafting better there. But I think they're going to have to get better on both sides of the ball.
So you guys don't think they should draft a quarterback at 6?
No, absolutely.
The quarterback is going to wind up just like the ones they have now. No blocking, ducking and dodging and running for their life.
Fair enough. Rick, tell me about this new Hanover team we keep hearing about. They're ranked nationally in the 550 poll. Are they a real 4A threat to some of the teams in the West?
Anything is possible. Kurt Angel has been down there for some time. He's built a really good program. Last year they went like 9-2. I think they lost in the regional semifinals to. I'm trying to remember the team that they lost to. I think it was West Carteret was a team that they lost to.
Right.
The year before that, they had a really good record. But when you look at their team, they don't have any marquee players that are mid to high major Division I players. But they got a team that's built around balance. Almost every one of their starters is scoring anywhere from 7 to, say, 12 points. And I guess really the star of the future for them is a young point guard who's a freshman, Roderick Allen, who's probably one of the premier point guards in that particular class. But if you look at the rest of their lineup, there are no marquee names, but something to be said for teams that play hard, play together, and have good team chemistry. And apparently this is what this particular team has this year.
Yeah. I mean, they look like one of those teams that could definitely come up. The West is going to be a beast, and it's going to be really tough to get there. Speaking of
the one thing we always question as far as some of the teams, particularly from the eastern part of the state, the day-to-day competition is not what it is in the Charlotte area.
Right.
You don't have like in the 4A. I mean, just in the Charlotte area, you got Weddington, you got, North Meck. You also have Chambers, you have Audrey Kell, you have Myers Park. I mean, it's a slugfest in the Charlotte area.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But, in the playoffs, you only got to win one. And if I don't get beat up on the way there, maybe I can have a better deal once I get there. Chelsea, one of the big leagues up your way, Athens Drive at 4-1 in conference in a fight with Enloe and Gibbons, just a game behind. And Athens Drive plays Gibbons on Thursday. Who has the edge in that game, you think?
Between this matchup, I have Athens. I saw them play Friday out there on Athens Drive against Sanderson. I think they're a team that once they really get that momentum, and they're scoring constantly, then they don't let the other team get the lead. And I think especially for an anticipated matchup like Gibbons, they're going to go out there and really play.
Yeah, that should be fun. I mean, is there any team up there you think really can win a state championship?
I think as far as Cap 6, our best contender that I would put up there is Enloe, but I'm only saying Enloe play teams, within the conference so far. So right. I don't know how the matchup would be against, outside of Raleigh.
Be interesting to see what happens as we get closer to the playoffs. Randall, there's a lot of games being played right now in weeks because of all these postponements. What tips as a trainer would you give to players who are playing all these games to kind of keep their bodies ready going through multiple games in a week?
I think first of all, as a coach, you really have to plan out your week. I know some coaches like to go early in the morning, for, pregame, so to speak, and, have shoot around. I think you really got to cut it down. I think rest and recovery is the most important thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, practice wise, I probably would, we'd probably practice for 45 minutes to an hour. And I'd use the rest of our practice time block just to watch film and try to get better, that way, light shoot around. But for players, making sure that you're icing, stretching, is super important. If you have one of those massage guns, just make sure you're foam rolling, every night, just to stay loose and making sure, like, when you wake up in the morning, you're staying hydrated. So you're drinking, some water or Gatorade before you go to school, eating breakfast, staying hydrated through the day and getting as much rest as possible because, 3 games in a week is a lot, and it starts to wear you down a little bit. Especially this time of year.
Some teams are playing 4 games in a week, particularly the teams up in the
yeah. I mean, it was some teams that I wasn't even expecting it, but because of cancellations, some people played last week. They played Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then like you said, some people had to still play Friday. So it's a lot, and I mean, it really the season is always a grind when you get to late January, early February. But the weather definitely did not help us.
Yeah, one thing he did mention, guys, was get rest, and I think that means sleep. So don't stay up to 1 and 2 a.m. on your iPhone like some people in my household and try to get up at 4.
Hey man, he is a brilliant student, and a lot of the times when he's staying up till 1 and 2 a.m., it's because he's doing homework.
Okay, that's not what I hear coming out of his phone. We'll let that go.
Hey man, I tried to follow the sword for my guy.
Yeah,
one thing, Langston, most of these kids, they play AAU and they play 3 or 4 games in the summer a day for a weekend. So they know how to adapt to it. They rather play games than practice anytime.
Oh, for sure.
No question.
All right, so I wanted to bring on the new face you see on the screen, Brandon Wiggins. He's the new football coach at Mallard Creek High School. How you doing, Coach? I mean,
I'm good.
Chambers High School, coming from Mallard Creek. I'm sorry. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing well, man. Doing well. How excited are you about this new job?
Man, I am extremely blessed. Chambers is one of the number one programs in the state, or is the number one program in the state. And just to be, a part of that is just phenomenal. I'm very grateful, very excited. We get going tomorrow. I'm in the weight room and just excited to see what we're going to bring next football season.
How much pressure and excitement is there for you taking on a team with this much talent that's been to 4 straight state championship games? Because next year there's nothing you can do other than make the next one. Otherwise, it kind of feel like it's a failure.
I really don't look at the championship is obviously at the end goal in mind. For me, I'm nervous about tomorrow in the workouts. It's a step-by-step process. I understand that, we've been in the state championship the last 4 years, but for me, it's the destination, it's the journey to get there. So I'm more nervous about, workouts tomorrow, how that's going to run versus what's going to happen, December or mid-December next year. So, like I said, it's pressure, but at the same time, I know for a fact that it's all about the process of getting there. It's all about the journey, not necessarily worried about the championship, but more so about, hey, how can we get these kids in the weight room? How can we build a culture of excellence? How can we make sure we're doing what we need to do on inside the classroom and outside the classroom? So, like I said, I'm very excited. I feel like I'm built for it, and I'm just ready to get going on tomorrow.
Coach, you mentioned that you feel like you're built for it. What about your past has prepared you for the pressures of taking over a state championship contender year in, year out? Tell us about your past and how that prepares you for this next journey you're about to embark on.
Well, I started off as a head football coach at the age of 25 years old. I did not know what I was doing. All I knew was that the program needed structure. I knew that that we had some talent, but at the same time, I knew that I was the face of it and different things of that such. I started off coaching about 10 years ago. In the first 4 years, I was a defensive coordinator. Like I said, I became a head coach at the age of 25. And then I was able to take a team that essentially hadn't been to the playoffs in 20 or so years, to the playoffs. And I was the fastest coach to do that in school history. Equating that to Chambers. Chambers has a lot of resources, a lot of talent, and just that work ethic alone that I provide to the student athletes, I think would be more than enough. Will be part of the contributing factors to success moving forward.
Chambers has a rich history. I was a part of the initial staff when the school first opened, and I've had contacts with every coach that's been a head coach over there, and that's the first thing they recognize is, boy, it's some talent over here. Every coach that's come in there is like, wow, it's some talent over here. And speaking of here, what brought you to Charlotte? How did you find your way first to Mallard Creek and then to Chambers?
Well, I am originally from Greensboro, North Carolina. I actually still stay in Greensboro, North Carolina. About a year ago, I took a position as the head track coach and defensive back coach at Mallard Creek High School under Kennedy Tinsley. Coach Tinsley, as you know, came from Greensboro. He was the head coach at Southeast. And we've had interactions before, but last year was my first year working with Coach Tinsley. From there, we did a decent job as far as implementing just the culture at Mallard Creek now. And I was the head track coach when we were state runner-up. So just my connection with Coach Tinsley, he brought me on. I'm also familiar with the AD, Coach Spate. I actually worked with his wife at our previous high school. So just those connections got me through at Charlotte. I wasn't familiar with Charlotte ball, but I am fully aware of it. I see now it's one of the most talented areas in the state. Like I said, if you're able to win in Charlotte, you're more than able to win in the on the state championship.
So you said you still live in Greensboro? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir. So I commute about an hour a day. It ain't that bad. I stay in south part of Greensboro.
Okay.
I'll be relocating soon. I have a son on the way. He'll be here in April, so I want to make sure my wife has enough support as she can.
Right.
As I do my new.
What time is that alarm clock going off? And what time are you hitting 85?
4:50, and I hit 85 by 5:25. So a lot of it's just a lot of pre-planning and making sure that the clothes are ironed, the food is already in the container, and I just grab and go. So it's not bad in the commute. I'll listen to a podcast or a devotional or something like that to kind of get
just
going.
about to mention podcasts. Talking Preps is a podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you can find it. You can download Talking Preps. You can listen to Gary and Alex is here and Chelsea and everybody on the way down. What differences can we expect from Chambers under you? You know, Coach Farabee kept things really light. It was kind of player-led. You know, what are you going to put a different type of touch in the program? You're going to keep it kind of the way he ran it?
Chambers is a smooth Ferrari right now. If anything, I'm just going to make couple of oil changes, some brake changes, things like that. I like the culture at Chambers. I feel like the student athletes are excited about playing ball. And I just wanted to add on to that, but at the same time, make sure that I'm building young, good men as well. Make sure that, you know, we're doing the right things on and off the field, going to the classroom, different things of that such to where we are successful, but at the same time, we are successful both on and off the field.
Yeah, and you made a big hire this past week. You hired Donald Littlejohn, who had been briefly at Chambers, but was formerly at Mallard Creek, was part of a lot of big success over there, went to South Point, won a state championship in South Carolina. Why was it important to go grab him to bring him to be part of your team?
Coach Littlejohn's a phenomenal man. He has Charlotte roots. That's deeply connected. He knows the area. He knows the kids well. And it's really important just to have familiar faces around the program, especially with somebody like me coming from out of town, to make sure that we, you know, keep familiar faces around the program and make sure that we do what we need to do. It's to keep the kids comfortable. That's the biggest thing. Like I said, it's one of those things where, like I said, I like to have coaches that are like mine, like myself, advocate for the guys, and I feel like Coach Littlejohn was one of those guys.
Coach, you mentioned Coach Littlejohn, whose history precedes him. He had a very successful run over at Mallard Creek before he went down to South Point. The kids at Chambers have experienced. You're their third head coach in 4 years. They've changed defensive coordinators. Now they're changing offensive coordinators. How do you think all that transition in a short period of time, and I'm really referring to the seniors because they're the ones that have gone through it. How do you think that's going to affect them, and how do you plan on helping them adjust to the changes in coaching staff?
Although there's been changes, I feel like they've been changes made that are, I guess, gradual. Me, myself, personally, I understand how the seniors felt. I had 4 head coaches in 4 years when I was a student athlete at Smith High School. So I know for me, it's one of the things where I just can't come in and just stamp whatever. I know, obviously, they won the state championship without me, especially the seniors. They won too, as a matter of fact. So for me, just one of those things will make sure that I observe. I don't make too many hasty decisions, but at the same time, do what's best for the program and the longevity of the program. I feel like the staff is there now. We're there for the long run, and just honestly, just meeting the kids at where they're at. That's kind of my goal. Just, hey, I understand this. I actually talked to them Thursday, and I told them that I was in the same situation my senior year. Matter of fact, I had 3 head coaches my senior year alone. So I understand that, and me having that previous experience lets me further know what to do and how to handle seniors and things like that. Because I know it might be some resistance and things like that, but at the same time, I'm just there to love them, there to make them better men and better football players ultimately.
Awesome. Well, before we let you out of here, Chelsea is from Raleigh, and I know it was a big deal when Cardinal Gibbons won the state championship over Chambers this past season. Your first game out the box is a rematch with Cardinal Gibbons. What a way to start your career. How much forward are you looking to that game and kind of getting a little revenge on the state champs?
I'm looking forward. The first game sets the tone. It sets the tone for the football team. Sets the tone for the school culture, the school climate. It sets the tone for the season, and I'm very looking forward to it. I know it's a redemption game, and I'm immersed in it. So like I said, it's just one of those things where any first game, but the fact that this Cardinal give is very, very exciting. So I'm really just ready to get out there.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, thanks for coming on short notice. I know I just called you yesterday to ask you, but I appreciate you coming on, and safe trips down 85. Make sure you download Talking Preps into your podcast.
No problem. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Coach.
Good luck.
That's Coach Brandon Wiggins, the new football coach at Chambers High School, taking over a program that is absolutely loaded. They have like 18 starters back from a state championship team. It was nationally ranked all year long, and I think they'll be a favorite to win again this coming year. Gary, what do you think?
I think they'll be a favorite. One of the things that the previous staffs have done is they've had or developed student leaders, and the best teams are always player led, and that's one of the things that Farabee mentioned when Coach Brand left, was that the kids took on the leadership of the weight room and how they did things on their own, and the coaches didn't really have to do a whole lot. So that has already been ingrained on them and about how to work. The work ethic at Chambers is awesome. And so if they continue that, and I'm sure he's going to make a few X and O adjustments, I think it'll be a smooth transition. I hope it will, because they have a lot of great athletes over there.
All right, cool. Well, Chelsea, it's your time. It's your moment. I'm Alex today. I'm introducing your segment. It's Chelsea's World. What you got?
So this week I interviewed a senior from Cleveland High School, Dylan Wiggins, and it was actually his coach who recommended him. And one thing he really talked about was him, being a senior and a captain, just how that team's really led by that small group of seniors. So one thing I really wanted to speak with him about was just his leadership role, his final ride and his goals for this season.
Yeah, I watched the video. My man's kind of leaning back. He's just relaxing. He's he's real confident. He doesn't like it. Yeah. All right, let's check him out.
So this week I'm having senior Dylan Wiggins from Cleveland High School men's basketball. So Dylan, I want to start off by discussing the success of the season so far. You guys are 19-1 overall, 10-0 in the conference. Just kind of talk about y'all's success in these games that you've been going through.
Well, I think most of our success comes from our coach and how good our team chemistry is. Everybody loves to play together, and we have some leading scorers, but we share the ball really, really well. So when we have games where certain players aren't playing good, or if I'm having a bad game, I know I got other teammates that'll be there. And another great thing our coach does is our defense is we have a really good defense. Teams have trouble shooting on us. When we played Pinecrest the first game of the season, we had two of our starters had to sit because they both got techs, and it was a team rule that if you get a tech, you had to sit. But our defense was still great from even our bench, so we were still able to stop them and get our first one of the season with them. But it's just our team, just the chemistry and our coaching.
Awesome. And already pushing out these wins, kind of talk about what's y'all's ultimate team goal for the end of this season that you guys are just pushing towards?
We want to win a state championship. We think we can win a state championship. And right now our goal is just keep winning in conference so we can have the conference championship at Cleveland. And it's just easier to win home games, so we want that there. But end goal, we want to make it all the way state championship. We want to win one for the first time.
I like that. And just kind of talk about how do you guys really implement that in practices, with just that goal in mind?
Just making sure we watch film on the team before, prepare for the next team, and make sure our energy's high. So if we have games, like we've had a few 3-game weeks because of the snow and COVID and teams getting canceled, so we've had lighter practices. But when we have like 2-game weeks and we know we're playing a good team, like we play Garner next week, we're going to have an intense practice Monday to get ready for them.
For sure. And Dylan, this is your senior year. You're also a captain. Just kind of reflect on, your past seasons with the Cleveland program and just your progress that you've made as a player.
I was lucky enough to play varsity all 4 years. And our first 2 years, we had a different coach than we've had our last two. And our first two, it was fun to play those first 2 years. And that was like the years just to get better, to prepare for the next two. And then we had coaches. So they brought in a new one, and when they brought a new one, we had 2 transfers come over last year, but then we just started playing great, and we started winning, and we won a conference championship last year, and it's been great since we've had that new coach.
Awesome. And having 19 wins this season, and again, those 10, undefeated in the conference, do you have one game that's been your favorite, whether that be, personal performance or team performance?
In conference, it was Clayton, but I think overall throughout the whole season, it was beating Millbrook because they're reigning state champions. That was a great game. But Clayton and Cleveland rivalry has always been big ever since I've been at Cleveland, and being able to walk in there and just win by 30 was great.
For sure. And Dylan, finally, to those who don't know you as an athlete, and a player, kind of just talk about your game and yourself.
I don't know. They used to call me Kevin Love because I was a little slower, a little taller, white guy. But I think I've gotten a little more athletic now. I've gotten a little bit better. I can shoot a little bit. It depends on what game it is. But I like to run the floor, dunk, shoot threes, get rebounds. I think I'm a funny guy off the court. I think I like to have fun, just do fun things.
Solid. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. Best of luck the rest of the season. And I've really enjoyed watching y'all's success so far.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, Rick, you had a comment in the back. We were talking about Cleveland. What did you say about Cleveland High School?
Well, they have a chance to have the best record in school history. They're 19-1 currently. The best record previously was 23 wins. So they have 4 more games, and they should be favored in all 4 of those. So they should match the total of 23, and then they go into the playoffs. It should be their best year in school history at Cleveland. And the good thing about it is with Cleveland, you look at their lineup, the majority of their guys are all seniors. So they're very senior heavy and a lot of leadership. And they score a lot of points. They got like 3 or 4 guys that's averaging like 12 and above points.
Well, Chelsea, once again, you hit another home run. I love your interviews and how you get these guys to open up because, they won't, when they talk to old men like me and Gary, they don't react the same. So it's kind of cool. Yeah. So tell people how they can get on Chelsea's World.
Yeah, my Twitter is at Chelsea Sipple, so it's my Instagram. My DMs are open to any athlete, coach, parent, anyone that wants to make a recommendation or, ask for themselves to be featured on Talking Preps NC in Chelsea's World.
Yes, that's major. People tell me all the time, I mention this every week, I'm sleeping on me. Here's a way for you to be on the Charlotte Observer, News Observer, everything we do, all the social medias, the main webpage, everything. So hit up Chelsea. Rick just put in the back, Chelsea does a great job. I've been plugging on social media. I do think she does a great job. Chelsea gets better and better each week. And hopefully next week we're going to have a real special interview. Hopefully, fingers crossed, right, Chelsea?
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
Hope so.
We'll see. But Chelsea, thanks a lot. We'll catch you next week, okay?
See y'all.
All right.
Great job.
Bye, Chelsea.
Good job, Chelsea.
Man, can you imagine being in high school and being that polished?
She's amazing.
I was not
Bright future.
I was not that polished in high school. Trust me, I was not that polished. All right, Randall, you made some changes to men's basketball. So let me drop this and let's see what you're talking about. Wait a minute, wrong one. That's football. So we started with 16. Now we're down to 12, and that's some new faces.
Yeah, we had one change. Mia Zaris from Myers Park, as I mentioned last week, she was right there on the bubble. And Friday night, she lit it up versus Audrey Kell. She's the stir that, mixes the drink over there at Myers Park. She is doing a great job of distributing the basketball, but also shooting lights out from behind the 3. She's just playing at a very, very high level, and I felt like she deserved to be on this list, especially after Friday night.
Absolutely. Ella Hobbs had another big game on Saturday for her team. Hadn't seen Cassidy Geddes yet, but she had a 40-point game. And Monty Lester, we know, she's good. Andrea Navarre, congratulations on making McDonald's All-American team. And, Blanca Thomas is their strongest. This list is really strong.
This list is it was hard. It was hard to cut down to 4 and, to cut it down to 12. It was actually more difficult than I anticipated. So if that was really hard, I can only imagine what I'm getting ready to go through, as we continue.
Yeah, and I also think as Rick pointed out at the start of the show, we're kind of getting to the point where the games are becoming bigger, the stakes are becoming bigger. As you get into the playoffs, some people are going to separate. There may be some new names that pop on this list. I really think that, Senali Moss and South Meck, in my opinion, can have a shot to get on here if they continue the way she's playing. If they continue to play well.
I think that matchup when they get their rematch at home versus Myers Park here next week, it'll be huge. But I think the one big thing that you can see on this list is that a lot of it's going to be how far do you make it in the state playoffs? I think we got a lot of people on here that are in state championship contention, and how a lot of these young ladies close out the year will be extremely, extremely important when we figure out who Miss Basketball is.
Gary, does this list surprise you at all? And how do you think we should proceed? Is it what Randall's saying? We should look at how far you go in the playoffs, or something else?
Well, I think winning always plays a part, because if you are as good as people think you are, then your talent also helps those around you, which means your teammates, right. And that leads to future success. So, yeah, I think winning should play a big part in this. You don't want a kid that's, averaging a triple-double, but their team is losing every game, then they're not impacting the game. So I think winning does play a big part.
Yeah, I think winning definitely matters.
All right, well, let's talk about your list, Rick. You cut some names out, and we're down to 12 now.
Well, anytime you have a list, you always get some recommendations on some other players that you need to add to the list. The hardest part is when you want to add players, you have to, remove someone from the list.
Sure.
That being said, the one thing that I am going to try to do, some of the people that have been mentioned, I'm going to try to go out and see them, physically this week and next week. But the list that we have right here is a number of people that I've seen numerous times, both at either the club level or the high school level. So I feel very comfortable. And again, when you look at this list, it's players that are probably the cream of the crop as far as players. But the other equation is every one of these players is playing for a team that has a chance to win a state championship.
Right. That list is really strong as well. That guy Cade Tyson, every time I look up, he's got a 30 ball every single time.
And after this past week, two guys that had outstanding weeks. Cade Tyson had a phenomenal game against the Burlington school. Yeah. And I think the other thing that matters, Langston, competition matters. There's a lot of people that put up great numbers, but the competition is not that strong.
Right.
But when you go up against a Burlington school who the weekend before played Link Academy, which was the #1 team in the country, the Burlington school was up 14 points on them. Now, they did end up losing that game very close.
Right.
The Burlington school goes into Carmel Christian, and Carmel Christian, beats them pretty easily by 20 points. And Cade Tyson has a game of his life of 31 points. And then just a couple of days ago, I was up at Hargrave to watch Word of God and Robert DeLeon, and they put a pretty good win over a really talented Liberty Heights team, and DeLeon was phenomenal in that particular game. So I do think winning matters, but also the competition level is equally important.
Absolutely. All right, now it's time to take a look at our high school rankings. So big changes on the girls' side. Okay, Alex is not here, and I'm going to do my best Alex impression, but Northern Guilford is jumped up to #1, guys, and Myers Park slotted in at #2. Cannon beat Providence Day by a bucket on Saturday, so Cannon has jumped over Providence Day, which was #1 last week. Looks like the cream is rising to the top, Gary.
Yes, it is. And I think that comes from the fact that a lot of these teams you have listed, Myers Park, Chambers, Cannon School, they played a tough December schedule. They went out and played teams. They didn't worry about whether they won or lost. They just worried about getting better. And now that they're in the tail end of their conference seasons, that improvement is starting to show up.
Man, that 4A West is going to be a beast. That's all I can say looking at this.
Always is.
It's going to be an extra beast this year. And the East is going to be really good too. But the 4A West is going to be an absolute monster for somebody to try to come out of this season. South Meck, we just had Cristie on there, sitting there at #10. They got that big game with Myers Park coming up. Randall, what do you think about, can South Meck upset Myers Park? Is Myers Park the road too good?
That I remember the first game, the stands were jam packed in Myers Park. They definitely had home court advantage. So I can guarantee you that Senali and Coach Mitchell are going to make sure that to repay the favor, and they're going to have the stands packed when Myers Park comes there next week. That should be a great game. One team that I think that's not on this list, and I can't necessarily blame them, but they just haven't played enough basketball, is Lake Norman. Lake Norman, was supposed to play Myers Park in a rematch of that matchup last year from the state playoffs.
Yeah.
And they've missed a ton of games due to COVID, due to quarantine. And that's a team who I think, could be on this list. They just haven't played enough games and, to validate them on this list. But hopefully, this week we'll really be able to see them the next couple of weeks and see.
Randall, I can vouch for that. I'm still helping out at Hickory Ridge, and we've had 2 games with Lake Norman postponed.
Yeah.
For COVID, for weather.
Yeah. That was the other thing. I mean, they've missed. I mean, I know a lot of schools have missed games.
Yeah.
But I think Lake Norman has missed more games than kind of anybody I've heard about so far. And that game versus Myers Park was the one that I had circled on my calendar to really see.
Yeah.
I saw them earlier in the year, and I thought that they could have a really good season. And I know Myers Park wanted to get a little bit of revenge from the state playoffs last year. So I don't think that one's going to be able to get made up. But I hope, they can start to get some more games under their belt here soon.
Yeah, I believe Lake Norman's 10-3. Another team I think to look out for is Watauga. They played a lot of these teams tough. Some of the ranked teams, they've had a chance to play them and got some big wins. And if you have to go up to Watauga to play, just that bus ride alone is tough. And that's a tough place to play up there. Beautiful, but a tough place to play. All right, Richard, let's find out what you're doing with the boys' rankings.
Not a lot of movement on the boys' side. Greensboro Day and Weddington is really the top 2 teams, both in their respective classification. Greensboro Day in the NCI SAA, and Weddington is nationally ranked, and they're rolling through the competition in their particular conference. Chambers at 3rd. I think Chambers on paper has the most talent, and then next at number 4, we have Carmel Christian, and shout out to Joe Badgett. We talked about it earlier. Their game against the Burlington school this past week was a remarkable coaching performance, and the kids really performed. So not a lot of movement there on the boys' side. We mentioned New Hanover. We talked about them earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Also Cleveland at number 17. We spoke about them earlier as well. But not a lot of movement, a lot of heavy teams from the western part of the state.
Yeah, Ardrey always seems to kind of find their way on these lists and up these lists as we get later in the year with Coach Graff. They had a big lead against Myers Park, lost 2-1. Randall, do you think Ardrey has another state championship run in them this year like they did last year?
I mean, Ardrey Myers Park Friday night was one of the best games I've been to in a long time, not just because of what was going on the court, but the student section at Myers Park was electric and unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I do think that they have a shot at it. It's going to come down to how far Evan Smith is able to carry that team. Brock Rose had a phenomenal game on Friday night. He scored 30 points. He does a great job of getting to the free throw line. He knocks down open threes. But they are going to have to kind of figure out who that third scorer is going to be.
Right. And
I think that's what it's going to come down to. Who's going to step up and be that third person that they can rely on to put the basketball in the hole, on a night in, night out basis. Because I think what you're going to get from Evan, what you're going to get from Brock, but they kind of got to figure out who's going to be that third wheel. And that'll really tell us how far this team can go in the state playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon Nelson is a junior. He's averaging about 10 points a game, so he could be that third person.
Yeah, he's consistently he's had some really good games, and then he's had some games where he hasn't. So I think he's still trying to figure out his way, in Coach Kraft's system to really settle in and be consistent. But I definitely agree with you, Rick. I think he has all the tools to be it. I really just think it's going to be on him and just to go do it.
Yeah, and also one thing I want to mention, when Ardrey lost at home to Harding, and not to take away from the win by Harding, but they were without Brock that particular game because I think he was on COVID protocol. So that was a big miss, in that particular loss. So that's the only loss that Audrey Kell has during the regular season.
And Brandon didn't specific. I think he was 1 for 9 from 3 that night, so he didn't shoot it particularly great versus Harding. But yeah, I mean they were without him, and it's still a 2-point game. So I think they're definitely in a situation where they can make a deep run in the playoffs. Like I said, they're just going to have to figure out who that third wheel is going to be.
Rick, how unusual is it to have, going back to Weddington, to have a regular public school team be ranked number 24 in the country? That just seems unusual to me.
I think it's remarkable, and I think it goes back to the situation that we talked about Weddington earlier shows. Weddington, the majority of those kids have been playing together since middle school. They have that chemistry, they have that bond, and they just play great as a team. And Coach Ellington's done a phenomenal job. And you have Chase Lowe being the point guard, who's also on our Mr. Basketball Player of the Year, is the head of the snake for that particular team. But I think it's remarkable that you have a public school team that went undefeated last year and has won 18 games this year. I think that speaks volume for the program and also for public schools.
Is there any danger, Rick, though, that they're kind of blowing through the SEC and then they're going to get to the playoffs, probably round 2 or round 3, and have to face, some heavy hitter somewhere?
It's all going to, depend on the seeding. I think the biggest trouble they will have will be the team that's right behind them, and that would be Chambers. Chambers on paper has the most talent. So you'll have a situation where you have a team that's been playing together for many, many years versus probably on paper the best team as far as talent is concerned. Hopefully the pairings where you would have a Weddington versus Chambers championship for the Western Regional.
Good luck with that one. That almost never happens the way you do it.
What makes Chambers so unique? What makes Chambers so unique is they can play out on the perimeter or they can play inside. We can play it any way you want to play it. We can go up and down. We can play half court. We can play outside. We can play inside.
You guys do a lot of Chambers Weddington talk. Don't sleep on my man Dwayne Lewis in the North Meck Vikings. He has a way of getting it done when you least expect it, and I think he has a team that is not a traditional North Meck team. Got a lot of firepower, and they beat anybody tonight.
Well, there's a nice marquee game Friday night, North Meck at Chambers, which should solidify who wins the conference championship.
Get your tickets on Monday.
I know. Well, Chambers is bigger than North Meck, but yeah, you're right.
You remember what happened the first game?
Yeah,
they had that ticket issue. So I'm sure.
All right, Rick, we're gonna put you in the back for a second, Rick, and I'm gonna do my best Alex Bass impersonation. And let me get everybody in the right spots here. Get me in the middle, Gary on the side, and it's time for Coach versus Coach. So we can't have a jump ball in basketball, guys, because not virtual jump balls. So I guess we'll flip a coin like football. And Gary, since you're to my right, you get to pick. So what's your call? There's a flip. What's your call?
Heads. Same thing Buffalo should have picked last week.
It's tails. So Randall, do you want to go first or do you want to go second?
I'm going to defer.
You're going to defer. All right. Gary, should the Hornets try to trade for Philadelphia's Ben Simmons?
No. Heck no. Okay.
Ben Simmons never give up the ball, I guess.
Yeah. Ben Simmons reminds me of a cartoon character named Cringer. Every time trouble comes, he's like, oh no, here we go again. Look, Ben Simmons is not going to change his stripes just because he changes cities. He didn't shoot at LSU. He didn't shoot for Brett Brown. He didn't shoot for Doc Rivers. He's just not going to shoot the ball. And bringing him to the Hornets, all that does is take the ball out of LaMelo Ball's hands, which you don't want to do. And because Ben Simmons is a playmaker. He's not going to shoot the ball. He's not going to score. He's going to be in LaMelo's way. So I think that's one the Hornets should pass on.
Randall.
I'm sorry, but I had to disagree. I just look at it like this. If I have Ben Simmons with the ball in his hands and I have Miles Bridges coming to set a screen, I don't know of too many pick and roll situations that have been scarier than those two things. I can put LaMelo over there on the wing, and if we need to kick to him, we can kick for open threes. I understand what you're saying, and I'm sure you can still find time. Terry Rozier is not going to sign back here. So you can find a package.
He's already re-signed. He just signed an extension.
You can find a way. It's about up. And you can find a way to get Rozier and PJ and package them for Ben with some picks and go get Ben. And we can have some pick and roll with 6'9" and 6'9", and then have a 6'6" wing shooter over there. I don't know too many teams that would be able to handle that length if Charlotte was able to package a deal to get Ben.
I'll say I agree with Randall to an extent. I don't want the ball out of LaMelo's hands, which is what Randall's saying. But I think there are times in the game where Ben could come in and maybe run with the seconds, have the ball in his hand, and maybe times late in the game where Ben can have the ball. But the thing
late in the game, all they're gonna do is foul him, and he's gonna go to the free throw line.
Not the last 2 minutes, like before we get there. But what I'm saying is that I think that he also can defend the wing, and that's the thing that the Hornets don't do well right now is defend. So he can help on the defense. But that'd be interesting. But I think the Sixers want a whole lot, probably more than what the Hornets want to give up. Randall, who was the real conference champion? Is it the regular season champion or is it the tournament champion?
It's the one that goes through the season and has to, win on the road and win at home, not somebody that wins a couple games during a 3-day stretch. It's the regular season champion, and it's not even close.
All right, it's the one that doesn't get the trophy. Gary, what do you say?
Well, according to the conferences, the conference champion is the tournament champion. That's the number 1 seed that comes out of the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten. That's what they use, and I understand why they do it that way because they could get more teams in. Right. But the way the ACC chooses their champion is the tournament champion.
Let's reward a bunch of guys for having 3 to 4 good days instead of 3 to 4 good months.
I tend to agree with Randall because in high school they give the tournament champion gets the number 2 seed in the playoffs. So the regular season champion does keep number 1. I think the regular season champion, I think it's harder to win a regular season championship. I don't think we do a good enough job honoring the regular season champion. We make a really big deal out of the conference tournament champion, and I think it's great, and I know everybody's together. But I'm almost would like to see like cutting down the nets and get trophies and things like that for the regular season champion. I think high schools especially should recognize regular season conference championships because I think we kind of gloss over that, and we always talk about we're going to the tournament. I think when you win the regular season,
well, one is a sprint, and one is a marathon.
Yeah, but I think they're both accomplishments. I think we celebrate one a lot more than the other. Randall, will UNC still be unbeaten at home after Saturday's rivalry game with Duke?
No, absolutely not. Duke's gonna come into the Dean Dome and do what they do best. Pablo's gonna go crazy. The young kids are gonna dominate, and Armando's gonna be great, but he's not gonna have a lot of help. And I think Duke ends up winning 77-71.
Oh, he's calling the score, Gary. What do you say?
Well, I'm saying if Carolina is winning at halftime, they will win the game because this team is a front-running team. So if they're in front at the half, then that tells me they have enough confidence to compete with this Duke team. Now, I know this Duke team is more talented than this Carolina team. I can see that. But the intensity of the rivalry means something. And these young Duke players haven't been in this rivalry. They haven't seen the intensity of it. And the good thing that Carolina has in their favor is at home, and they know the intensity of the rivalry because they played in it. Because they don't have a bunch of one and dones. They don't have a bunch of 4 and dones, to be honest with you. But it's something about this rivalry. You'll have a crowd there. And so it'll be a good game. And if Carolina can hang around till after halftime, they have a shot.
I think Carolina should bring back Roy Williams and Michael Jordan for this game because
Roy will be there. You know,
Oh,
Roy
they did it the right way yesterday. They knew they were going to run State over, so they picked the perfect game to celebrate that team.
They certainly were energized.
They did exactly what they were supposed to do.
They certainly were energized.
I'm not sure they want Michael talking to him because they wouldn't like the words they hear if they lose to Duke.
Coach Lewis, what do you think? Will UNC still be unbeaten after they play Duke on Saturday?
I would like to say yes, but probably not.
There you go. All right, we've reached the point of the show where it's time for the big star to make his big proclamation. Let me find this little banner. Randall's final thoughts.
Players, I know that everybody wants to be the kid that takes the last second shot and hits it, and you've been thinking about that since you were 5 and 6 years old, shooting into the trash can. Sometimes it's just as important to make the right play. Passing to an open teammate for a wide open three, running the play the way that the coach drew it up, no matter what the situation is. Sometimes when things don't go right, pulling your team together and playing as one instead of trying to get back into the game individually will always help you in the long run. So I'm saying all that to say, trust your teammates and make the right play.
I like that. All right. Well, that's another edition of Talking Preps. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's Randall. I'm Langston. That's the guru, the #1 voice of high school basketball. I say it every week. Rick Lewis.
Thank you.
Gary Richmond, my friend, the coach, the frat brother. I mean, you got all kind of titles, Gary. Only thing I don't like about you're a Dallas Cowboy fan. Other than that, we good.
Yeah, I'm not one right now. Today, I guess I'll be going with the Chiefs and the Rams.
All right, there you have it, the picks. All right, this Talking Preps. We'll catch you next week.